Hey everybody. I want to propose this idea of a self-propagating and self-reinforcing loop of practice and faith. So imagine that you have a circle forming, and there's 2 points on the circle. One point is faith, another is practice. And as one practices, they get more faith, and through faith they get a desire and a drive and a motivation to practice more. And this kind of works both ways. So you get more, you practice more, you have spiritual experiences that fuel your faith, and through your faith you believe that you need to head further and faster in this direction, so you're driven to practice. And for any of us, we can enter into this reinforcing circle through either point. We can begin with practice, or we can begin with faith. Now, for where I am in the country, I live in the Midwest in Missouri, and faith is a big part of people's lives here, at least for many people, although it's not to say that it is totally ubiquitous, but many people are Christian here. But people have varying levels of spiritual experience through their faith, and so you could say it's maybe even the same statement to say that people have varying levels of faith, because perhaps the more faith that you have, the more you have you've coupled yourself to the fruit of that faith. It's maybe one way of putting it. But the reason that I think this cycle is important is because if you only have faith and no practice, it can potentially be limiting. And I'm not sure if I want to put my full weight behind that statement, but just to explore it a little bit, if an individual is purely going based off of faith, I think that as long as they continue to set their aim beyond themselves on the object of their faith, for instance, in Christianity, on the example of Christ as always transcendent to yourself as an individual and as a symbol to model yourself after. And I think that faith in that way can of course lead to the Spirit dwelling within you, you could say, or to you being part of the sonship, or you being adopted into the family of Christ, or you being part of the family business. Like all of that could happen through faith. And yet, I think that faith alone leaves out an important aspect of our relationship to God, which is practice. Now, I think part of my views on this come from my own spiritual path, because I came to faith through practice, and I see in others, and frankly in myself, so much potential that faith alone, or so much potential that practice can add in conjunction with faith. So bringing us back to this core idea that I laid out at the beginning here, of where you have practice feeding into faith. I think that you can enter into this cycle from either point. So for me, I began practicing, I began meditating, and that precipitated out within myself spiritual experiences that then led to an increase in my own faith. And I believe that once an individual has some degree of faith, that can lead them to want to acquire more faith through practice, or not to acquire more faith, but to act on that faith and to deepen that faith, and to do everything they can to align themselves with the ideal that they are aiming themselves at. And not to do this from a sense of striving, but to do this from a place of, I want to clearly look at my own shortcomings. I want to clearly look at my own limitations. And I want to, through the use of every tool that I have available to me, more and more closely match myself to a transcendent ideal. In this case, in the context of this conversation, I'm talking about that ideal of Christ. And so that's entering into this loop through the practice element. Well, I guess, and just as I mentioned, you could enter into it through the faith element, where you begin with faith, and that makes you want to practice. That makes you want to go deeper and to act on that faith. And I want to be careful here, because I don't want to say that you must practice in order to align yourself with a transcendent ideal. And I don't want to say that you need to necessarily have faith to align yourself with a transcendent ideal. I think that you can approach the exact single-pointed center of that lies at the heart of every religious attempt that humans make to understand God. I think that you can orbit around that and maybe get there from multiple different ways. But to me, it seems robust to enter it not only from just faith, not only from just practice, but to have both of those, or to act from practice and from faith, and how those can reinforce each other. So I'll leave it at that. I hope you have a great rest of your day.